This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Dr. David Webb, the President and CEO of 60 North Gold, listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange with the ticker SXTY, the Frankfurt Exchange with the ticker 2F4, and the OTC Pink with the ticker SXNTF. So hello David, thank you very much for your time today. Could I ask you to start us off by just introducing the company, telling us a bit about the project and really what it is that you're all about?
Okay, 60 North Gold Mining Limited was started and organized around the acquisition of the Mon Gold project. It is wholly owned by the vendor, and 60 North is obtaining a 100% interest in the project. It's a past producer in the Yellowknife Gold Belt, so we're smack dab in the middle of it. There are two mines, past producers to the south, that produced 14 million ounces of gold at a half-ounce grade. And to the north of us is the Discovery Mine that produced 1 million ounces at 1 ounce per ton grade. So we really like the grades. We like the logistics. It's wholly owned, and it's the only permitted mine and mill for gold in the Northwest Territories. So we're quite comfortable with that.
Okay. So you're up in the Northwest Territories. Now, the Yellowknife Gold Belt, I wonder if you can maybe just tell us a little bit about this deposit and past explorers on this area for people who are perhaps not familiar, particularly people from the London markets, I'm thinking, who might not have heard of Yellowknife before.
Yes, the Northwest Territories is one of the areas we have in northern Canada. Two of them are very road accessible, and the Northwest Territories is one of those. So you can drive there from anywhere in whatever kind of vehicle you want. It's mostly paved highway all the way to the capital city, Yellowknife. It was discovered in the early 1930s, and staking rushes led by a number of companies. Cominco Limited started mining there, made their discovery in 1936 and started mining in 37, followed by the Giant Mine, which was discovered in 48, and the Discovery Mine, which was discovered in 48 as well. The Giant was discovered in 44, went into production. Mon property was one of the early discoveries made in 1937. So what we like about the project area and the camp is it's got a almost 80 years of exploration and production history. The grades are fantastic. Access is very easy. You can drive there. It's got an international airport. It's one of the few gold projects I've worked on where you can hop on a commercial flight in non-COVID times and fly from breakfast in Vancouver, fly up to the capital city, Yellowknife, take a charter up to our property. It's only a 15-minute flight north of the city, tour the property, come back to Yellowknife, hop on a commercial flight back to Vancouver and have dinner. So it's logistically, it is very accessible, very easy to get to. We do have cold weather, which we absolutely love, because it freezes the swamps and the lakes and turns them into highways for us. So we can drive all of our heavy equipment up to the property from the capital city of Yellowknife.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've mentioned it was past producing. Can I ask what historical activity was there on the property? Why did it cease to produce? And why do you think there is more potential to come from this project?
Well, there's about 3 general types of gold deposits in Yellowknife. The gold in quartz vein is the classic, and that is what the Discovery Mine and the Mon property consists of. But there's also the shear zone hosted gold deposits like the Con and Giant, which are the really famous ones, the large ones. And then there's a third type, which is more of a disseminated gold deposit. The quartz vein, like the Mon and the Discovery, are a little bit difficult to explore. For the quartz veins, pinch and swell, there's a little bit of a difficulty on that. But when Cominco found the Mon property in 1937, it was so high grade. It was just easy to see from the air as they were flying over. They landed multiple meters of over 100 meters of high grade plus 100 gram per ton samples coming out of the vein. They immediately sunk a shaft onto it, and they subdrifted underneath the surface exposure, which is typical exploration. This is pre-diamond drilling. Diamond drilling was in its infancy and really not used that much. So they did this, and they could not find where the vein went. So they sat back and pondered this while 10 years later, the Discovery Mine was found by a different group. And Cominco looked at it and said, oh my gosh, that's the kind of deposit we have, the folded high-grade quartz vein. So they started diamond drilling at that stage, and they did find the extension of the quartz vein. But oddly enough, and very unlike Cominco, they only drilled from one direction. So they found one limb of the quartz vein. The second limb remained undiscovered until 1989, when I actually optioned the property from Cominco and earned my interest in 89. But I found the eastern limb of the vein. So it was a folded quartz vein deposit. It doubled the amount of tonnage that was available. And we immediately started mining it, producing 15,000 tons of ore, recovering 15,000 ounces of gold from 15 meters of elevation. So we only scratched the surface.
So that's very high grade gold then, is it there?
That is very high grade. It was hard to lose money on it, but in 1997, the price of gold went below $300 an ounce US, and operations shut down because that was, I don't think there were too many mines in the world that were making money at those gold prices.
So gold in quartz, then, I understand what you're saying there, where they pinch and swell, and you almost have to follow them, and it's underground mining as well, which makes it a little bit more challenging. So how are you addressing the challenges of gold in quartz and following the veins? And also, what have you got at your disposal to help you follow it correctly and extract it?
Well, I think there's several things. First, the people. So we have a lot of gray hair on our team, both on the financial side and on the operations side. So myself, I purchased the property or optioned it and acquired it back in the 1980s. So I've got a long history with this project. Yellowknife and I are old friends. I started up there in 1980, and I did a master's thesis on the Con mine. And then after obtaining that, I realized what the potential was, and it was fantastic. So I completed a PhD on the belt, essentially finding out how to identify and discover gold deposits in the Yellowknife Gold Belt. Coupled that with a team of underground miners, Jerry Hess, Rod McKay, Ralph Kachunki. We as a group have underground mining experience. When you combine the team together, we have relatively new equipment, completely refurbished high-end equipment, and we had actually mined this project in the past, in the 1990s when it was in operation. I was the chief geologist, chief engineer, and in my part-time I operated the mill. So Jerry Hess was the mine manager and put the team together so that we actually could mine it. We know what our costs are. We know what the rock's like. We've done it before.
Okay. So what are the activities that are currently ongoing at the project?
We have shut down for the winter. There's a couple months where we don't really want to fight the cold during operations. and we are getting our logistics put together. So we are acquiring fuel tanks, extra tanks, because we want to extend our season. We're lining up the road building contractors, the road haulers, the explosives, pretty much getting everything set so that we can go in late February and drive our resupplies up onto the property and get ready to start up again for 2022. And that will be to continue mining, developing underground stopes, extracting more mineralization, and generally outlining about 30,000 tons at the first level that we'll be developing.
I wonder as well if you can tell us about perhaps the other aspects of the property. I'm noting the Hangstone Property. What's that all about?
The Hangstone Property is a very interesting acquisition. We're aware, when I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, that there are three primary gold deposit types in the are developing one type, the gold and quartz vein. But there's shear zone type deposits, and we have those on the property. We have trenched them. We've got good economic grades over a mineable width, but none of our shear zone targets have been drilled. The shear zone targets and that disseminated gold target extend onto the Hangstone property. So we struck a deal late last year with the vendors there, independent of the company, and acquired their package. And that will be primarily the disseminated gold and the shear zone hosted gold. But there's another type that is not very well explored for in volcanogenic massive sulfides. These are the big deposits that made Noranda famous, or Bathurst, New Brunswick, or in fact, if we go into Europe, the Iron Belt through Spain, terrific copper, lead, zinc, silver, gold deposits. And we found some of these outcropping on the property, extending onto the Hangstone property. So these are exploration targets, which I feel are slightly higher risk than the mining venture. We will be focusing on those at some point, and we're doing a little bit every year on those.
Okay, so your 2022 work program is already ready to go, is it?
It is. We are constantly looking at ways of tweaking it. We have to talk to the regulators anytime we make a change. So we have to get permission to bring another fuel tank in and expand our fuel supplies. So it's nonstop. And because we're in Canada, we're very sensitive to First Nations. We have a consultation requirement under our Constitution. So we're also contacting them and making sure that they're comfortable and they're fully knowledgeable of what it is we're doing. We have their support for the work we've done so far and for the whole project through the mining and milling, but we have to maintain that. And during COVID, it's been much more difficult than you'd imagine.
Okay. And what's your opinion on then the gold market in general, the gold price, and where it's possibly heading in the future?
Well, that's that's a question I used to answer, and I find a better answer. What do I think about the price of the U.S. dollar? That's an easier one. I think governments had to do what they did during this current pandemic. They had to inflate. It was really the classic no holds barred, keep the economies going. And we're going to have to go through extricate ourselves from that mindset at some point. Hopefully it's going to be 2022, but it's going to happen eventually. And I do believe that the gold price will represent a stable market for us, or an increasing market. I know that our cost of operation is going to be among the lowest quintile in the industry. We can't talk much about actual costs and ore reserves because we don't have a 43-101 completed on it, and therefore we're prohibited from using the word ore, prohibited from talking financial constraints. But I do know that at 1 ounce per ton, the rock will contain about $1,800 worth of value with the gold. And our metallurgical work gives us 99% recoveries. Our historic recoveries were in that range, although we used only a gravity recovery, getting 85% recovery at that stage. So we'll do what we can to make sure we're in the lowest cost producer. Mm-hmm. We will have a reasonable cash flow, even at 100 tons a day, 1 ounce per ton feedstock will produce a significant or a material.
Okay, so just a final thought then, just looking at your current investment proposition, your market cap looks like it's about 7 million Canadian dollars, about 4 million euros. Just looking at perhaps the roadmap or some of the key milestones that you're looking out for, I wonder if perhaps you can give either 3 key things or 3 reasons you might tell people to consider why they might consider investing in the company.
Okay, I think we're marketing an alternative to the exploration side where people will go out and drill and try and make a discovery or turn that discovery into a reserve, resource, what have you. We feel that ours is a lower risk proposition where we are just mining underneath the existing stopes. And bear in mind that the Con mine that produced 6 million ounces of gold and up to 120,000 ounces of gold annually started at 100 tons a day, as did the Discovery mine, started in 1949 at 100 tons a day. We're doing the tried and true, proven process of creating wealth, and we're not worried about maybe we'll find something, maybe we won't. We've already drilled into it. We know it's there. That's one thing. The second thing is to remove the risk or lessen the risk. We obtained the permission from the First Nations, and we have the licenses and permits to mine it and process it and recover gold. The only gold mine in the Northwest Territories and one of few in Canada. It's not part of our proposition. And thirdly, I think as far as locales goes, I've worked internationally and I've had projects expropriated. I'd rather work in a jurisdiction that has a good respect for the rule of law, that if it's yours, it's yours. It's not to say that we could at risk, or any project could be at risk for government expropriation. We're in a jurisdiction where we'll be compensated. Shareholders will not be left hanging should things go south on the political side. So those are 3 issues that I think, having experienced all of them in my life, I don't want to go through again. I want a low risk, high reward project.
Okay. Well, Dr. David Webb, the President and CEO of 60 North Gold, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.